It's Monday night. Market Monday is on. Thank you for joining us from Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are tonight. My name is Blair Nightingale. I know that many of you have been on before, so in a sense, I have met you. You have met me, but I know we're going to have some people on here who've never been on before. You're watching either live or on the recording. So welcome. This is Market Monday. You know, I was talking to some other people here at Tradeway earlier today, and the comment was made, if you took all of the stuff that we here at Tradeway do just on YouTube, Facebook, throughout the week, right, for the last 2 years now, Market Monday, we've done this for 2 years, string it all together, there's a tremendous amount of information for you as a stock trader, maybe a new stock trader, maybe an experienced stock trader, maybe just a curious person wondering, what is this stock trading thing? Wherever you're at, we've covered multiple levels of engagement. Again, curious, beginner, advanced, right here on Market Monday. All free information, right? We have tens of thousands of students here at Tradeway across the United States learning how to trade in the U.S. stock markets. An amazing financial opportunity. Some of you have heard me say this so many times, but it's true. It's so true. We get to leverage Wall Street. It's already built for us. The whole access that we need for at-home trading business owners, it's already built. It's right there. It's online. We just have to know how to trade. And today, we're going to get into 5 beginner tips, crucial tips. And let me say this when I say beginner, because it's true. It would be for those of us who are just starting. But you know what? I read a quote years ago, and I've never forgotten it. It says, oftentimes people need to be reminded more often than they need to be instructed. What does that mean? It means that we ought to go back to the basics. It means that we ought to be reminded of the foundations, right? We don't always need to be taught. We've already been taught some things. We just need to be reminded. Now, for those of you who are true beginners today, this is going to be really special for you too, because that's what it's meant for. 5 tips for beginning stock traders. So I call these foundational tips. Okay, Jeffrey, this is foundational on Market Monday. Speaking of foundational, having a little weather discussion with Jeffrey. We always know what it's like in Colorado Springs. 47 degrees, starting to get cool out there. It is the most wonderful time of year, I have to say. Some of you would try to outvote me on that, but today I have the microphone so I can say whatever I want, and this is my favorite time of year. So thanks for chiming in, Jeffrey. Anybody else on who wants to, just let me know you're here. Let me know who you are. Let me know any questions you might have. This is an amazing opportunity for you to reach out and ask some questions as we go through. Can have something to do specifically with a point that I might be talking through or not. Maybe you've got something else in investing, trading, or the stock market that you would like to look at. I'd be happy to do that as well. That is what we do here on All Things Market Monday. Ooh, Rhode Island, Joe. Thank you for chiming in there, Joe. You know, you just might be, at least from what I recall, our first from Rhode Island. So thank you for being on tonight. I appreciate you being here. And we are definitely going to dive into some stuff that I know is going to help you out getting started, or continuing forward in that journey trading. 5 tips for beginner stock traders, okay? Now, I'm going to say this. Not necessarily all these tips are created equal. Now, as we go through, I'm going to highlight some that I think as a coach here at Tradeway, certainly in my own experience learning to trade. I started back in 2015. You know, I've had to go through a lot of the process, right? And so there are some things that stick out to me more than others. I'm going to share that with you as well, because I think that's important. They're not necessarily all exactly the same, but they are all important, okay? So let's go ahead and dive right in. 5 tips for beginner stock traders, okay? Here's the first thing I want to say, specifically for beginners, okay? If you can learn to make a simple trading plan, right? Simple trading plan, and identify patterns on a price chart, okay? If you can literally look at the price of a stock and identify some patterns, visual, artistic patterns, you can learn a proven trading system. Okay? Let me say that in another way. If you can just learn 2 simple steps that we at Tradeway teach people all the time, you can learn a proven trading system. That's very important to get at first, because we might come into this thinking it's got to be complicated. It's got to take a really long time, right? It's got to include enormous mistakes and losses all along the way before we get it, if we ever get it. You know, some of these negative mindsets that float around. But I want to break that mindset today. Tip number 1 is, hey, listen, if you and I mean this, and we've got some people on here I know that are in the program. If you can identify shapes, specific patterns, you see, I say patterns, it's really shapes, right? I've shown them here many times on Market Monday. You can learn to identify those and make a plan, which I'm going to talk about in another point here. Simple plan. Most people don't make a plan before they get into a trade, right? They just get in. They just put their money in the market and pray to Jesus. Okay, we love to pray to Jesus here at Tradeway, but not for that reason, right? Not because we didn't have a plan. So if we can just do those 2 simple things, hey, we're starting to break this thing down into something that anybody out there watching tonight can learn how to do. And you may not think that's true. You may not think that's true right now, but it actually is. You can learn how to trade with this system. Those 2 pieces, those are the biggest pieces, okay? So it's really, really important that we learn to do those. But first, it's important that we understand how empowering this can be, because this isn't just for the big wigs and the big money and the banks over on Wall Street. And they've learned how to make this thing as complicated as complicated. But I can tell you that over the period of time that I've been doing this and watching the people around me who do this and do this well, it's really about those 2 things. It's about understanding the patterns and sticking to a plan. If you can learn to do those 2 things, then you can be a stock trader. Somebody out there today needs to say, I can be a stock trader. You maybe never said that to yourself, or you've wanted to, but you haven't. Maybe some of you have been around for a little while, and you ought to just go back to the basics and say, yeah, I'm a stock trader, and I'm a consistently profitable stock trader. That's something that we talk about in our workshop series, one of our courses here at Tradeway, where we have folks. It's not just a positivity thing where we just say it to make it true, but we are actually working with folks to develop a positive expectation that if I know how to find patterns and stick to a plan, then I can move forward. Okay. And that's the goal, is consistently profitable trading. That's a big tip, right? That's a big tip, because if you never even get started, then you'll never know what you can do. Famous saying from Henry Ford: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, right? Look at our world today, man. Mindset is an unbelievably powerful thing. It's either going to make you very, very free, which is why the Lord said the truth will set you free, or it's going to keep us really, really stuck. So whether you think you can or think you can't, very important. So tip number 1 is, hey, if you can do those 2 simple things, we can show you how you can be a stock trader. I'm going to say pause on that. We've got a question here. I've got a Facebook user. I don't have the name. Okay, good. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Thank you for sending that question about our 30-day challenge. Let me come back to that. And Jeffrey says, I need to be a stock trader again, right? Jeffrey's learned how to do some of our other programs, learning how to trade options. Talked about that recently on here. We're going to do more of a preview in some weeks ahead before the end of 2021. We're going to do some options preview. We kind of hint at it and talk about it, but we haven't actually gone into more detail on options. So I want to make sure we take some time on Market Monday and do that, because, hey, if you know how to trade with options, that's a whole new world, because we could potentially make money when the stock goes up. We can make money when the stock drops. When it goes down, we stand to profit. When the stock goes down, when the market crashes even. And if the market just goes completely sideways, hey, we've got a strategy for that too. So we've got a jacket for every season. It's getting colder out there. You got to change what you're wearing. If the market changes, you got to change what you're doing. And that's what we do with options. That's to come. But right now, foundation, hey, pattern, plan, I can be a stock trader. Not so hard to do. We help people do it all the time. That's number one. Number two, okay, win big. If you're a note taker, this is one for you. Win big, lose little. Okay, sounds simple, right? Like, oh, great. I watched Market Monday tonight, and Blair said if I want to be a good stock trader, I've just got to win big. As though it were that easy. Well, the point I'm making is if we are trading correctly, right? We learned to use a system, back to point number one. Even then, we're still going to take losses, guys. It is normal. I could have even said that tip number two, I could have said the same thing, but use this heading instead. It is normal for a good stock trader to take losses. Let's let that one just sink in for a second, right? If you're new, you maybe haven't heard that, right? If you've been around, you have. But if you're new, you haven't heard that most likely. It is normal for a good stock trader to take losses. In fact, a good stock trader takes losses well. Because there's no way we can trade in the stock market over time, right? Consistent, not just a couple trades, but over time, and win every single time. We're not going to win every single time. There's no way to guarantee that. The very best system in the world couldn't do that. The absolute greatest minds on Wall Street can't do that, right? Nobody wins all the time. So what's the key? And this is why I named the tip the way I did. The key is when you win, we want to win big, but when we lose, we want to lose little, okay? We want to lose little. Losses are inevitable, okay? But devastating losses and losses that are bigger than what we planned, that's not inevitable. That's avoidable in almost all cases, right? If you trade over a whole career, no doubt we're going to have some times where a trade gets away from us and goes south. We may take a bigger expense than we initially planned. And we talk about all those kinds of things in those rare occasions. In fact, we've got a couple of specific rules in our program to help limit that from ever happening. You just have to learn what those rules are, right? That's part of learning how to do this. But devastating losses, that's not inevitable, okay? So we want to avoid that. But when a trade is not doing what we want it to do, we know when to say, this is over, right? We know when to say the trade is over. I mentioned trading and learning patterns. Well, one thing that patterns helps us do is know when the pattern is broken. If a pattern is broken, and I'm going to be just really basic here, right? We're looking at shapes on a price chart. When the shape breaks, when it changes, right? Then we go, it's over. And then my job is to control myself well enough to take, yes, a loss, but a small one. Now that sounds simple. Some folks try to hold on to that trade, like newbies, right? Beginners who come into trading and they haven't learned yet. They don't know the skill set. They haven't been in the Tradeway programs. They might go, well, I'm going to hold on to this. Because, I don't want to be the guy who has to push the button and make it a loss. Because, a stock trade, if I buy one share of XYZ stock at $100 and it goes down to 50, I lost half my position, right? But I don't lock that in until I get out. Until I get out, it's just a paper loss. It could come back. That's a habit in trading that gets amateurs into trouble. What we teach you to do, no. Let's get out when it's not working. Never be down 50%. Move on to the next trade. That's a huge tip for beginning traders. Winning big, losing little. The key, really one of the hugest keys to getting ahead over time is keeping your losses small. Okay, keeping your losses small. If we cut that trade loose, meaning we get out, take a loss, take an expense, we like to call it, when it isn't working, we give ourselves the potential to stay in the game and get ahead over time. It's counterintuitive, but it's exactly what we need to do. Win big, lose little. Number 3, okay? Moving through here. Number 3, 5 tips for beginner traders in the stock market. Don't primarily, right? Let's say it this way. Don't chase the profits, right? Chase good habits. The best stock traders I know, and I know some good ones, don't chase money. They chase good habits because they've traded long enough to understand that it's actually good habits that help their trading the most. When we go out and we go, oh my goodness, I could make a ton of money on that, or look at how much that stock's been moving, I should just go get some of that, and they get emotional and they feel like maybe they're going to miss out, and we got to go out and get in on GameStop and AMC and Wall Street Bets and Bitcoin, and we're just chasing things, right? That's just one example of how this can manifest, but we're chasing profits, right? Let's say we made a plan in a trade, but we break the rules once we get in because we say, you know what, I don't want to sell yet. I'm going to hold on because I think this thing's just going to keep on going. See, now we just change our mind because why? Chasing the profit. The profit becomes the main thing, and we make decisions not based on our plan, not based on our training, not even sometimes based on our logic, but on our emotions that are fixated on the potential that the stock market has to honestly give incredible gains in a very short amount of time with little to no effort. I mean, that is possible in the market. Now, the opposite, of course, is true. We could lose in the market quickly too. That's why we need the skill set. But it can be seductive, and that's what amateurs tend to do. Professionals understand, right? And by professionals, I mean, yes, there are the Wall Street professionals. There are different levels. But really, people who are learning and implementing a system and becoming consistent in their trading, they understand that if I have good habits, right? I plan the trade well. I stick to the plan. I trade patterns, right? Not just stocks that are going stratospheric, and I just try to get in and see what happens, okay? I like to say on here, trading is never guessing, gambling, or going for it. Now, some of us think trading must be guessing or at best gambling. And then we go to the market and we think, well, I don't even know what to do. What makes this one better than that one? So I'm just going to go for it, right? None of those things are trading, right? We want to have a plan and understand a system. That's why I started today where I did. But when we do that, we implement good habits, right? Good habits. I'm going to talk about one good habit here when we get to number 4. We want to have good habits. The last thing I'll say about this is I like to say root system versus fruit system. Think about a tree, okay? Think about a tree. Fruit is the fruit of what? Of the root system, okay? The other systems of that tree, when it's healthy and functioning the way it should be functioning, then it gives the tree what is necessary to produce fruit in season. Okay? We don't chase the fruit first. We want to make sure, if you follow the metaphor, in trading, I'm putting down the right roots. That's a huge part of the work we do. Now, it's not complicated, but we want to help you set down the roots you need so that you can produce fruit, right? And the fruit, of course, is profit. And I don't shy away from that, okay? I'm not saying we need to be shy about the fact that we are trading for a profit. That is exactly why we are trading. I want to see accounts growing, okay? I want to see your trading account growing. I want to see you reach the financial goals that you have. You're trying to get out of that debt. You're trying to get out of that student debt. You're trying to get out of that credit card debt. You're trying to, what? Save for college. You have how many years till retirement, right? I talk to folks all the time. And these are the kinds of things that they're wrestling with in some cases, or just this is the next thing that they want to conquer in their lives, right? Some of us don't have much time until retirement. Some of us have somebody managing our retirement account, and we're not so sure they're doing a great job, right? And it may just be that we really actually don't know if they're doing a good job because we're not even sure how to ask any questions, right? Jeffrey says Blair wants you to win. And so do I. Jeffrey's in our program. And I used to say that all the time. Jeffrey's absolutely right. I do. I want you to win. I want you to win at life. Okay, today we're talking finances. But if you get to know me, you'll know I want you to win with Jesus. I want you to win in your family. I want you to win in your money. I want you to win in your community. I believe that this country needs you to win, right? We need the right people full of the Spirit of God to win. And I don't shy away from the money conversation either. Okay. And here we are. So I do. You're absolutely right, Jeffrey. I want you to win. Okay. And part of the way we do that is going, let's think about any sport, right? If you really want to get good at the sport, if you really want to win the games, you want to win the championships, what do you got to do, right? You got to work out the skills. You got to work out the drills. Team sport, solo sport, doesn't matter. We've got to go through the motions. We've got to understand how to execute the skill set. Well, that's what we help you do. And what's encouraging to me about that is that this isn't some abstract gift that some people have and some people don't. Okay. This is a skill set. We actually teach you ABC 1, 2, 3, exactly what to do. And then we walk with you, implementing it over and over until it becomes second nature. That is putting down a root system. And when we get the root system, then we start to move towards the fruit system. Getting it backwards, that's not what we want to do, right? That's not what we want to do. So number 3, we don't chase profits. We chase good habits. Good habits. Let me give you one example to close this part out. If I set a stop out, right? We talked about stop outs recently here on Market Monday. A stop out is simply something that I can use in my brokerage account when I'm trading stocks, that if the stock goes against me, it's automatically going to kick me out of the trade. Okay? I get in $100 and I say, if this goes to 90, I don't want to be in it anymore. And it kicks me out. You say, well, I took a $10 loss. You did, but you didn't take a $12 loss or a 15 or a 50. Right? It kicked you out. When you didn't want to be in the trade anymore, you're out. So let's say you set a stop out. The stock starts to go against you, and then you go in and you cancel the stop out. Oh, I don't really want to stop out. I mean, I decided before I was in the trade, that's the most I want to lose. But now that I'm in it, I don't really want to take the $10 loss times however many shares I have. I don't want to do that. I think maybe I'll just let it go and it can come back. Now, it might sound a little ridiculous hearing me talk like this, but I promise you, this is the ways traders can start to reason with themselves, okay? And that means we went in and we changed the predetermined plan. That's a bad habit, right? A good habit is I set the stop out, I'm sticking to it. And then if I'm in one of these programs, I can reach out to Blair or Jeffrey or Jared or any of our coaches here at Tradeway, and I can say, Blair, I stopped out at $90 in this trade. Can we go over that trade? Teach me what I might not be seeing, or help me see that I did exactly what I was supposed to do, which can then build confidence that what? I'm building good habits, good root system. That's the encouragement we need. Some of us don't need information as much as we need an impartation of encouragement, right? That's exactly what we do in our coaching program. So that's a huge part of it too. Number 3, that's the root system. Fruit system number 4. Okay, moving on. Jung. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Jung. It might just be Young. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you for providing this information. It's just what I needed. Well, that is awesome to hear because I want you to win. That's what we're saying, right? I want you to win. So that sounds like a win to me. Number 4, don't trade. Okay. Starting on a negative, I could state this positively, I suppose, too, but don't trade more than you're willing or able to lose. Okay. In my earlier days of trading, somebody say Chipotle Mexican Grill, look it up, CMG. I traded a position size that was too big. It was too big for my account. You know what I was doing? Chasing the profits. Because a very small move in this stock could provide a tremendous increase in my trading account. But it also meant that I had to put a significant amount of my entire account in a single trade and risk catastrophic losses. Okay? So don't trade more than you're willing or able to lose. That's a good example of where chasing the profits and the emotions of big profits can cause us to do things that really aren't in the best interest of our trading. How do we counteract that? Simple. Take number 4 to heart and say, I'm going to decide this is the maximum amount I'm willing to trade, right? A good habit would be to know this is the most I'm going to trade and then stick to that, right? This is the most I'm going to risk. I keep saying $100 a share examples tonight. Okay. So let's just take one share of XYZ stock. Let's say it costs $100. Okay. You may say, all right, my max position size is going to be $500. Okay. For some of us, it might be 5,000. Okay. Whatever it is, okay, that's my max amount that I'm willing to put in the trade. So I'm putting in $500 and I'm willing to risk 100 of that before I get out of the trade. Now, there's more to talk about with stop outs. And again, we've gone over that recently more so on Market Monday. You can always find those in the backlog right there on YouTube. You can watch the previous episodes. But just to cut to it, I have a certain amount in the trade, but then there's only a percentage of that I'm willing to lose. So I put 500 in, but I'm only willing to lose 100, right? I put in, which is still a lot. I'm just using general numbers, right? That's going to be, 20% of that trade. You may not want to give up 20%. You put in 500, you may be willing to risk 50. You put in 5,000, right? You may be willing to risk just a percentage. 8% is a good place to start. A lot of people are going to go smaller than that, but you understand that there's only a certain amount I'm willing to risk. If I have a $20,000 account, I'm not going to put $18,000 in one trade, okay? If you're not sleeping at night, then your trade position is too big. It's too big. You say, but Blair, last time I did this, I made so much money. I almost doubled my account in a single trade, right? If you did that, listen, I'm not unhappy that you did that, right? I'm not unhappy that you swung for the fences and you got the home run you were looking for. But I can tell you that if you continue that habit over time with unchecked risk management, eventually that is how this is what we call it, blow up accounts, right? We blow the account up because that's not a consistent way. Because why? Because I said earlier, we can't win them all. We can't win them all. So we want to manage the position size well. So when you're just starting out, hey, I don't want you to be afraid to get in the market, because you know what we can do? We can just manage the position. We can go small, especially when we're starting. We can just put in a little and go, you know what? I'm not going to be afraid to get in the market. Maybe some of you are more familiar with this. Some of you are less familiar with this. But this truly can be a benefit for anybody. If you're feeling those nerves, then we can just get in with a small amount and say, you know what? I'm not going to risk very much of my money. I may only put 5% of my account in the market, maybe only 6-7% of my account in the market, right? That is one thing that you can do. But if you let that greed monster, swing for the fences every time, you just might find you don't have much of an account left after that. So avoid that. Avoid that. This isn't in my 5 tips, but it should be. Okay, so let's just say 6 here, because side note, tip for beginners, actually go and do the 5 tips for beginners, right? Remember James says, and I'm speaking to myself tonight, right? Don't merely be a hearer of the word, but a doer, right? Like somebody who looks in the mirror, sees his face, recognizes and registers that, turns from the mirror and immediately forgets what he saw, right? This is an information saturation age. Even just thinking of sermons. I mean, we can all jump on our podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, local church, radio. We can listen to so many messages, right? And I think there's some value to that. But if we just forget it immediately, if we don't implement that, right? That's true of any place we're trying to grow and we're taking in information. Now, I believe in getting, on that note, good spiritual food. And I think that that's part of what we do here on Market Monday too. Some of you come and you join in. It may not be that all of this stuff is brand new for you, but you get some encouragement, you get some energy, you get some momentum. That's worth it. But I want you to take something out of every one of them and go, okay, I'm going to implement that piece, right? If we're implementing something new every week, making that adjustment, dude, we're going to end up in a totally new place in just a little bit of time. So if we're going to take these 4 or 5 things, let's pick at least the main one that's most important for you tonight and add that in there. Just wanted to say that. Side note, before we get to number 5, okay, number 5 of the 5 tips for beginner stock traders. I've mentioned this in brief a few times tonight actually already, but always get into your trades with a plan already planned out, right? Or a predetermined plan. So the question I always ask is simply this: when are you least emotional in trading? Before you get in or once you're in the trade, right? May seem kind of obvious, right? But it's a good thing to think about. When are you least emotional? Well, of course, before you get in the trade, when there's not money at risk, right? There's no risk. So that stands to say that the better time to be setting a plan is when it's not at risk. So we set the plan, basically, this is a basic plan for you. When am I going to get in the trade? Where am I going to buy the stock, right? I'm just going to buy it when I buy it. I'm going to say, this is the price I'm going to buy it at. Okay, now I'm going to sell it where? This is the price I'm going to sell it at. And then I mentioned risk, right? How much of this am I willing to risk before I say, no, it's not worth it to me anymore? My stop out: buy, sell, stop out. 3 simple numbers. I want to have all of those before I get in the trade. So that what? So that when I'm in the trade, my emotions may go left or right, right? If the stock is doing well, I'm going to get that excitement. If it's going down, oh no, what's happening? All those emotions can kick in. Some of us are less emotional about trading than others. Okay, that's true. I recognize that. But in either respect, the plan we set before we got in becomes an anchor for us to help navigate those emotions. Because I go, no, I made a decision when I was objective. I'm staying in the trade until it hits my sell point. I'm getting out of the trade when it hits my stop out. That's it. I'm out of the trade. That's a good habit. That's a good habit to have. So planning before we ever put money on the line, huge deal. Huge deal. So let's just recap tonight, okay? First of all, if you're just starting, if you haven't started but you're thinking about it, you've got those goals you want to go after, 2021, right? I know a lot of people are looking to the stock market, new ways of making money, right? New ways of making money, starting that at-home business, because you don't know what's going to happen, right? I think this is a really important time for us to be learning this. If for no other reason, you guys, then it's just available to us, right? It's just available to us. It's an enormous opportunity. So if that's you and you can make a plan, which I just described the plan to you, and learn to identify those simple patterns, you can use a proven stock trading system. Okay. The second thing is winning big, losing little, right? We are going to take losses, can't avoid it, but we can avoid taking big losses. Stay in the game, take small losses. That's how we get ahead over time. We don't chase profits primarily, right? That's a fruit of the root system. We want to chase good habits and let the profits come as a fruit of that. We don't want to trade more than we're willing to lose or able to lose, right? Too much of the account puts us in an emotional state, and it also puts our capital at risk, right? We want to live to trade another day, we used to say all the time. Number 5, always get in the trade with a plan so that you can control those emotions and know ahead of time what it is that you are going to do. That's our 5 trading tips for beginners. I think, like I said at the top, a great reminder for us all. Doesn't matter where we're at in the stock trading journey, okay? We could probably all stand to take at least one of those or a piece of one of them and sharpen that up in our own trading. Doesn't matter what market you're trading. Doesn't matter what stock you're trading. These are the skills that are needed to be a consistent trader. Now, I want to get to this question. Blair, question. I took the 30-day challenge. So we have a program here at Tradeway. We do, it's on a cycle. We don't do it every month, but we do a 30-day trading challenge. So from the beginning of the month to the end, we've got homework, quizzes, lessons every single day, lives just like this, but they're private for anybody who's in the 30-day challenge. I took the 30-day April 2020. Interesting time, right? But haven't been able to do anything else because of COVID. I'm ready to dig deeper into Tradeway and learning trading. How do I jump back in? I always learn a lot from your Monday teachings. I am going to post a link for you here to answer that question. You guys will all see it right in the chat, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook tonight. Mr. Ben Russell, I'm sorry, not Ben Russell, Ben Mitchell, David Mitchell, our founder and CEO, his son, he's actually going to do a free membership virtual tour. Okay, so there's no obligation on this, but we have memberships. So you can come and you can learn a system from us month to month. Okay, it's just going to be a month-to-month program. You can jump into it and jump out of it anytime you like. We've made some massive changes to these, right? These are better than they've ever been. And we actually had a huge announcement webinar this morning at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, announcing a lot of those changes. If you missed that, Ben's going to do a membership virtual tour. This is actually going to be on the 9th, November 9th. So if you click that link, it's going to register you for the webinar. Again, just a free webinar. Let him show you what it is that we offer in these webinars. Because to your question, that is exactly what I would do. I would get into one of the memberships, honestly, because it's going to give you access to the support that you need, right? You're going to get access to coaches, live trading hours. You're going to watch us use the system over and over. This is how we can train you to move forward. So that is a great way to do it. Again, this is a preview for that, okay? I'm not afraid to invite you guys into the memberships, but this is a preview to the memberships, okay? Remember, you can always reach out to me as well, support@tradeway.com. This is Market Monday, okay? So if you have any specific questions, you say, you know what, Blair, I'm actually already familiar with those. I know there's some people out there that might be. And you say, I just want to get right into one. Go ahead. You can reach out right there at support@tradeway.com. Any messaging on here is going to be obviously more public, so you won't want to do that, but you can email me right there, support@tradeway.com, and I will get you going. You can also sign up for that webinar right there and join Ben Mitchell November 9th, 11 a.m. Central Time. He's going to give you a pretty extensive preview of what the memberships are. And we have different levels, okay? So you can decide where you want to go from there in terms of what level. I mentioned earlier at Market Monday in some coming weeks, we're actually going to look at options closer. I want you guys to get a little bit more of a preview on options. Some of these memberships include options, okay? Options. Remember that options gives us a lot of flexibility. That's why we trade options, okay? If you have a smaller account, it also can give you more leverage, right? You can trade some of those bigger stocks, bigger companies, but you can use less money because options give us leverage. You say, I don't understand. How does options give us leverage? We're going to talk about that when we get to that on Market Monday, but it is awesome. It's awesome. So you want to do that. Jeffrey says 30-day challenge is so worth it. I'm an alum from January 2020, right? So Jeffrey's been with us a couple years now. It's been really great having you. We just have a lot of awesome students. So I appreciate y'all. Appreciate you, Jeffrey. And that's how people start, And here's the thing I'll say about that. Getting to come and spend some time on here, and I'll close with this, on Market Mondays. This is a part where you can get to know me a little bit. I can get to know you. And then we've got some ways for you to come and take a step into the program and say, all right, I want to get some training. I want to start doing this. but it also not only gives you access to information that helps you get to the transformation that you desire, right? That's what we want, right? I mentioned some financial goals earlier. Well, what's your financial goal? We like to say this all the time. What's the why? What's the why? Right? What's the thing that you want to change? And if you could, why wouldn't you do it? Right? And we can help you move forward in trading. So if we're going to get some of that information, also get into the program, get more exposure and interaction with myself and the other coaches, right? We really want to build trust with all of our students, who we are, who you are, what we do, how we do it. That's what we want to do. And this gives you a very low risk way to come in and do that with us. And I think that's a really important thing to do as well. Okay, guys. So with that said, Market Monday, 5 tips. If there's anybody out there that you know on YouTube, on Facebook that would benefit from this, go ahead, tag them in the comments, send the link over to them, let them know that there's something like this going on so they can come in and get this information too. Completely free. Would love that. If they want to get it, send it on over. That said, back on Thursday, 4:30, Stock Talk Thursday. We're going to look at something, what's hot, what's not, and what's going on in the news. Got a big news item coming up this week. It's going to be passed by the time we get there. Joe says, can you resend that link? Yes, I can. It's going to be passed. Watch out. The Fed reports this Wednesday. Okay, so by the time we get to Stock Talk Thursday, that's going to be passed. So just know, potentially looking for some volatility in the market on Wednesday afternoon, because the Fed report will be coming out Wednesday afternoon. We'll see what they do. I will resist going on a long rant about what I think is going on in the economy. At least I will right here. Jeffrey knows it's something I do in my articles every morning on our Insider Plus community page, something our students have access to. You would get access to that in the webinar, or excuse me, in the memberships. Man, lot going on in the economy. And sometimes I think the stock market, Wall Street, they kind of like to have their head in the clouds. And I think some folks out there ought to understand what's going on in our economy right now, because the stock market is showing that it's really, really strong and it's doing really well and it's at all-time highs. But there are some major headwinds going on right now that I think we ought to address and just be prepared for. Jeffrey says, has the time changed for Thursday? Yes, Stock Talk Thursday is at 4:30 Central Standard Time now. 4:30 Central Standard Time. So that's the time for Stock Talk. And we'll talk about some of these things that I'm mentioning on Thursday. All right. Example last week, Tesla. We looked at Tesla. Man, just continuing to perform like crazy out there. So that's what I want to show you. What's really hot, what's really not, and what's the news item you need to pay attention to so you can just ignore the rest of the noise. Saves you time. You can do the other things you want to be doing. So thanks for being on here tonight, guys. Appreciate you, like I said, and we will see you next time.